All right. Whilst we're actually trying to wait for other people to actually join, um, I just would like to, ask you a couple of questions. All right. Um, yeah. So, the first time I heard about you, I think it was, I saw a snippet of the game that you made on I don't know, it was on LinkedIn at first. Then, like later on for the I think there was also a challenge, a game challenge by Rive that you actually were also there as one of the judges. So I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, who is Isa? Then I had to like, go check out your then I checked out um your LinkedIn profile, try to find out more about, try to find out more about the stuff that you do, right? I don't know, it seems like my network is breaking, but I don't know if you can actually, hear me.
No, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
So like I'm really curious, like I really would like to know more about you. So I don't know if you could maybe tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a motion designer for I think about 6 years. Um, I started on the pandemic. Like when the pandemic happened, I was
Wow,
working
that
on
makes sense.
another, yeah, on another thing. I was working with sales, pivoted to motion design because it was something was already kind of aiming at. Um, and then I basically worked like as most traditional way that is like with studio production pipeline, more related to After Effects and videos. But soon after, I think like a couple of years that I was working as a motion designer, I started to work with products. So like as a motion designer for animations that are on an app or a website or something like that. So basically, I basically pivoted to Rive very early on. It was maybe 2022, 2023. Um, so I use Rive like since the beginning, basically, and I knew that I kind of had to put together a portfolio of Rive animations until now. But I've been trying to be more active on the community, kind of sharing what I know about the tool and what it did to my career. You know.
Yeah, like it's so interesting that, like that you have actually been working with right from like 2023, because I was like, okay, when I mean like the first challenge and then your submission didn't look like someone that was just learning right. Like it was like, oh yeah, like this person like has been like, way ahead. I'm sure like the game must have been something that you have been probably working on even before, like, they announced the challenge and all that. So I don't know, like if you mind, like can you can you share a little bit of why you decided to like make like a Fruit Ninja game and what was going on your mind, that led to that.
Yeah, totally. Like it was. It's funny because I have a story there. Like there was a reason. It was basically the fact that I was working professionally in a game studio for like more than a year with Rive, and I was the only person doing Rive there. That was like my main job. Um, and it's very broad, what Rive is able to do in terms of um, the capabilities. I feel like in apps, you're kind of very scoped to like the interface. Like what I mean is that apps you can basically like build the whole app with Rive, basically. Uh, Games, sorry.
Yeah, like I mean,
I wanted to show this. Go ahead.
yeah, like I mean, yeah, like I would really like you to complete what you were saying, yeah. But like obviously, like you can build an entire app in Rive, yeah, even websites and all that. Like so, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I feel like it is possible, but I also think like that in games it's kind of overpowered in terms of like building something in Unity or Unreal is very tricky, and in Rive is very straightforward. At least that experience I had, but I couldn't just like put the whole game I was working on like for NDA reasons, like I couldn't just share that publicly. So I decided to basically kind of do my own thing, my own personal project that could showcase all my skills with Rive. And that was kind of how it idea began. I tested a bunch of things, not actually like executed, but I listed a bunch of things I could do, and I picked one that was Fruit Ninja copycat.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, I'm sorry, like my network seems to be like going off and on. Yeah, like so I don't know. So if I
No
freeze at
problem.
any point in time, just I don't know. All right, so
No,
that's
I'll wait for you. Yeah, if I'm just gonna wait.
yeah. All right, thanks. So I wanted to yeah, that's actually like, like thanks so much for that. So you already like had, a background in game design, then you just sort of like, okay, thought about it, and I mean, had a list of things you could build, then you decided to actually pick one. Oh, that's really nice. I don't know, like I don't think I really want to, yeah, like ideally, like I would still like, ask some little bit of questions in that regard, because when I looked at your game, like what was going on through my mind was like, how did you like, how did you work on the logic, like, like there's a fruit that comes, and then you slice, and how does it know, like, and basically, like, what was the logic, like, I'm sure like there would be like this key logic, because like working in Rive made me understand that um like there's always like the big logic upon which every other thing actually rests on. So what was like the key logic? What made it like, how are you able to even do the slides, like, or like I didn't try to like watch. Oh, am I frozen again? I didn't try to like watch more carefully your game, yeah. But is it that, I don't know, like, I don't know, maybe you should just talk a little bit more about, like, what you have going on there.
Yeah, totally. So, like, one of the things I've done was to kind of build a prototype. So I had like a very rough working game for that before I started to add like details in design, or before I even started to do the design. I had an idea of how it could work, the logic, and I just went and tested only the logic. And it's like the project, like the let's say the foundation of the logic is basically used to kind of trigger the animations of the heads. So I have like each head is an artboard that has its own animation to go like up and to the sides. And then like I have that is placed on the screen with lists. And that is in that way because with lists I can basically create a condition that says like jump when a certain number is the same as the index of of this specific element, which means I can basically kind of randomize things based on a number. So it's like I have a number that keeps changing, and when it matches to the associated number of that specific head, that head pops. And the slice is basically like it's basically a hitbox, let's say. So I tried several things, but most of it is like I kind of capture how much you sliced. You know, it's a calculation of where you started and where you finished your finger. So that was kind of the hardest part to make it work how I wanted. Like I could make it work since the beginning, but it didn't feel like quite right. Really bothered by the fact that sometimes you would slice and it was not in direction. The feedback. Um, but I was able to figure that out like after looking at some math stuff online. I was like, oh, how do you do this kind of calculation to find out like the degree of the rotation, this kind of stuff. But it was all like for me, it was all about like testing the initial core idea with something very simple and building on top of that. Um, there was a moment where I thought like, okay, maybe I will not be able to achieve the polish I want on interactions, but I just kept like kind of trying different methods until something felt right.
Wow, that's like I mean, like I feel like what you just said about like you know you know interactive animation is probably like the most important thing. Like like just having like this basic. Oh my God, I don't know. I think my network is slowing down. Yeah.
Oh, I can hear.
Yeah, all right. So basically, I'm trying to say that what you just said, about like this game that you just built, I feel like it's the most basic um building block for achieving anything with interactive animation. Even though like I still like have like a little um like question in that regard, like based on what you said. Like, okay, for instance, now let's say you have like the let's say it's a watermelon, yeah, coming up, and when you slice, so is it that like another water, like how does it like how did you like undo the animation for the slice? Like, was it that two, there will be like two, like there will be like the other slice, the other slice part that is already going here, and when you do this cut, it just maybe like fades out, then gives you the already cut version, or like how did you undo that part?
No, it's exactly that. Like, I have basically I decided on like how many pixels, let's say, you should have like sliced. And when that happens, like when that number is achieved, the animation switches the solo layers of a group that has like the head that is full and the head that is cutted, and the head that is like sliced appears, and it triggers the animation of the slices kind of um, pushing each other apart. Almost it's almost no, it's totally like relying on animation in terms of it's so fast that you don't notice that it's just switching.
Oh yeah,
It's just like kind of a keyframe
yeah,
instead of a very morphing
right.
super complex animation. It's more like you slice and it's already sliced right away.
Wow. Like, I mean, thanks for that. Like, I didn't really like, think about it like that. Because I was working like on a client project very recently where I had to like use solo layers, for like, this character rig, and then it's like a 360 stuff. And, it looks smooth, but like, it's just like, you know, three, like eight different views that's just like, soloing, like, I'm just like transitioning between um one layer to the other. So yeah, so now let me, I don't know, I feel like I'm taking too much of like your time, like asking you my own personal questions. Yeah. So I would really like,
Yeah.
you to, talk about how you you've already said how you got into Rive, then I really would like you to really expand more on how Rive has actually like impacted your career. And I think also I saw like I joined the call. It wasn't a call. I mean like the judging. I don't know what do you call it now. So, and then you were talking about the fact that you not only work with Rive, you work with other software as well. But Rive was like the major reason why you were able to okay, maybe the Rive opened your eyes to like other softwares that you could use to do the things you would want to do. And yeah, so I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, totally. I was even like I posted on my LinkedIn that I was gonna record a video about like how that happened to me. Um, but as you can see, this is my setup. It got ruined by water.
Oh wow.
So that's why I didn't record. Yeah, I didn't record the video yet. But it's gonna happen. And it's great that I can tell you guys like what I've been thinking right now to also like discuss and maybe even understand what other parts might be worth like clarification, you know. But my story is very attached to Rive, I feel, as a career. Because I started, like I mentioned, I started as a motion designer that worked with After Effects. And I moved towards product very naturally in terms of I was in a company that had different apps. It was like an app publisher, and they asked me to learn Rive specifically at the time. So I had like a week to learn Rive, like nothing else at work, just learning Rive. That was my task, you know. And that was I was very lucky, and I think that happened mostly because in After Effects I was already a very technical person in terms of oh, you want to translate something to 30 languages? I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna like type uh, 30 times. I'm gonna find a way to connect that to a spreadsheet and do it automatically. Technical, you know. So I feel like I was kind of pushed towards Rive because of that characteristic. And basically, after that, everything kind of pushed me further in terms of becoming someone that is more um, prone to do stuff that is like in the intersection of product, technology, and animation. Um, and I think Rive was very important because Rive kind of has this characteristic of wanting to be a software where different expertises live on. I feel like I'm very good at both like the technical and the animation part, but I understand that Rive and even from what they say as a company, they think of it like a product that is gonna be used by different people. So like the same team might have an animator, a creative technologist, a developer, a product designer, all working at the same time in Rive, you know. Um, so I think that kind of possibility of working in a software that kind of uh, talks to all these different disciplines made me want to learn more about all of them. And I basically today I work with like with Rive most of the time, but I also am very um, kind of interested in how to do the next step. So like how to implement Rive on the code. What are the technical limitations? When it's good to use Rive and when it's good to use another technology, or even like what I'm focusing right now is to learn more about coding in general and like computer science in general. Um, because I think like sometimes using another tool is also kind of necessary. You know, I think like Rive is a great tool for a bunch of things and I use it all the time. Like it's 90% of my work. but I also understand that there's situations where you might prefer use like code directly or Unity or any other tool available to you, you know.
Wow. Right. I mean, like, so interesting, like how you describe, where you were at and where you were sort of like, like why you were, leaning towards Rive, you're being this technical person and, interesting, like, for me to like personally, I do not like to, um, do like, for instance, if someone gives me a task, I'm already thinking of, oh, yeah, like, there has to be a way I can actually do this thing faster. Yeah, I'll probably maybe like, find a like, like a workaround to like, sort of like, automatically, just you know, do, you know, what I have to do. So basically, yeah, thanks so much for that. So for me, like, I'm kind of curious because you mentioned like in your post, about like, different people who actually like, 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 changing their, tags to like, creative technologists, and on and on and on. So I really would like you to like, dig deep into that. Like, what do you think, makes someone like a creative technologist? And, you know, what do you think makes someone a creative technologist? That's one thing. Then of course, how do you get there? Then, if we do get there, what's the because like these new terms, are things that I'm not even sure, like, a lot of employers actually understand them. Like, like I don't know, like I don't think there will be any job post that will be like, okay, yeah, we're looking for a creative technologist, like, um, I mean, if there is such a post, and it's actually going to be a really rare one. So like I really would like you to talk about that. What do you think will be the future of that, when it comes to like, jobs, let's say for instance someone actually decides to like transition into being like a creative technologist. Like, do you think it's something viable that, people can, like position themselves as, and it won't like, limit, their potential when it comes to like, jobs and all that? All right. I think Abraham like also like asked a question
Yeah, I was gonna say.
in that regard. Yeah. So I don't know, like, I don't know, overloading your questions here. All right. So Abraham, I think you can go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I'm so happy to be on this call with a legend like her.
Oh,
Right.
thank you.
I think I've been a fan since I discovered will I say flyer for this fire chat. I went to LinkedIn and I saw your work and I was like, well, first of all, I was intimidated. Then I was also inspired and I was like, wow, this is beautiful. Like, what a level of my game. I'm excited to be breathing the same air with you today, this evening. Thank you so much. So, so yeah, I think I really love the question he asked about how are we going to transition into being a creative technologist. Is it something that will be mainstream, or is it something that we as motion designer we start advocating? Because earlier this year I was making some predictions. I started content creation, so I made some predictions about creative co- creative technology being the new um viable vices for motion designers, where we need to start integrating coding and logic to our work, and to see that being implemented or seeing real people actually embracing it. I would like to know, how is the ecosystem over there? Do more people embrace the title there, or is just something that is becoming a thing gradually?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like both, I think both of you have a good idea of what I would argue is like what's happening in reality today. I feel like I use the term creative technologist. I started using it because I was having a conversation with um, the chief of technology of the company I was working in, and I was really like kind of discussing my own role inside the company, kind of saying like, oh, it's very weird because I'm a motion designer, but I'm doing stuff in Unity, I'm implementing interfaces, I'm like one of the least things I used to do was actually animating
Yeah.
for that specific company. And she told me like, I think it's kind of outrageous that you don't have technologist in your
Oh
title.
wow.
And yeah, so she was the person who introduced me to the concept of like a tech artist or a creative technologist. And then I started to use that specific naming on my title. And that was actually like my official title in the company. Um, it was like tech artist, more specifically. I was a principal tech artist. But I didn't want to put like tech artist on my title specifically because tech artist is a very narrow role. It's very attached to the gaming industry. So I didn't want to just limit myself to that. I wanted to also be visible to recruiters or to clients that are not game studios, you know. So that's why I started to use like the creative technologist title. But I do feel like personally, I do feel like it's not the most precise title for what I do. I feel like it's a very broad title in terms of um, when you talk to creative technologists, some people are very into the experimenting stuff, like doing stuff with shaders, doing stuff for like 3D work. So it's very broad. It's very like someone that codes and is doing like visual work, which is not specifically what I do. What I do is more like an intersection between animation, product, and technology. Um, and I feel like today I hold the title of like motion designer at the company I am in. Um, but it's funny because I think that's the natural um, kind of industry we are now in terms of it's very common to see not only with motion designers but also with product designers, with product managers, the expansion of what is being requested from you. So I feel like even more with AI, I think it's very common that people who are able to do more than one specialty are gonna thrive more, you know. So I feel like that's something that no matter what is the title, I think it's something good to do to kind of try to understand more other disciplines. And that can be like code. I think like for motion designers, that's something that it's going to be useful in terms of like, even if you don't go to Rive or interactions, you can learn more about coding and do like amazing stuff in After Effects. um, but I feel it's something that if you can like have more perspective on product or on marketing, anything that connects your work, like that kind of puts you out of the silo of animation, I think that's a good thing to do, because then you become like an animator that is able to plug in into other parts of companies that not only like um, being able to deliver a one-off video and that's it, you know. You're able to kind of be the animator that has context, like that has a bigger context. Like today I'm basically the animator that has like the product and technology context, you know.
Yeah, like very important to that you actually said that. I do still like have like another question in that regard. But before like I ask that question, I would really like you to like talk about like how you I mean like how okay, so basically what you even said, like you sort of like hinted, how to transition, from just being a motion designer to like you know technology, to be more technology inclined, but was there like, you spoke about like, like learning code and all that, but would you like to like, talk about like the mindset, that you sort of had to wear in order for you to like, um like to make the transition to like, even learn code, like, what was going on through your mind, like, like, why, like, I mean, like, of all things code, like, for me, like, as a motion designer, like, I mean, all that just comes to me is like I see all the cool works that, other people are doing, and I don't know. I think my network froze again. Yeah, like, I see all the cool works that other people are doing. I see all the, fancy studios out there, and I see them, like doing, 2D hand drawn stuff, and it's looking all cool. And that's like, what's driving me to like, want to like, create like, really dope things and all that. So like, what was what made you have that switch from just like from just a motion designer to like, wanting to learn code, wanting to learn like, what mindset did you have to like put on?
Yeah, that's funny because I completely like relate to what you're saying. For like before I kind of went to this path of kind of going more towards the technical side of things, I was very driven to like, I don't know, learning how to draw and like do more frame by frame animations or something like that. But it very naturally like I started to have the necessity of wanting to implement my animations and having that barrier with developers. And like I have an idea and I go to the developer and the developer looks at me and they're like, oh, that's not going to
Oh,
work. you know, like that's not going to be able, like that, we're not going to be able to implement that. So I was basically trying to advocate for myself. I was like, no, let me learn more about this and see if there's really no way of doing it. Not that I'm in that level of like the developer will always know, will always have the knowledge of like how to use like version control softwares like basically a more like I would say that you should learn how to code, but you shouldn't become like a developer. Like there's no need for you to know how to code a whole website or to be like a extremely good in coding. I think it's more important for you to do even kind of the opposite. It's kind of having understanding the basics of the broad field that is like computer science, you know. So I've been looking at resources like the Odin project. It's a good one. It kind of goes over like what is the internet, how to install Linux, like different, how to use like version control softwares, like this, all of these tools that are very basic to developers, but for us are completely new things. So it's not so much like specifically attached to the coding part, but more attached to understanding how developers work, you know, and understanding like the ecosystem of a developer job. So I feel like there's, for me, it was very much, I was very much driven by the need of advocating for my own animations, you know, like there is a way to implement this, like understanding the logic and kind of being able to plug in with developers with more ease than just being like kind of poking and bothering them, you know. So now I come more with the plan,
uh,
you know, like let's do this animation and let's implement it in this way, you know.
wow, like, like so interesting. Yeah. There's a question in the chat. Um, yeah. So thanks so much for saying that. We'll get to the question in the chat, like very shortly. I wanted to, because for me, like, there's a video I actually made, about what is Rive, and it was more like trying to explain what Rive really is, and try and talk about, like, why we need Rive and all that. Then I figured that they are. I mean, whilst like as you're like preparing for some things, some other things come to you, like or you're trying to say something, but then you didn't really, like, think about that in that light. Then it comes to you, and then you're like, oh my god, like, oh, that's actually like the best way to, or one of the ways to actually think about this thing. Yeah. So, which is actually the fact that as on our own end, like, we do not understand much of what is going on with code, right? I'm also not sure, like, a lot of developers actually know, like, in depth, like animation, or all these techniques and all that, and which is actually like why Rive is so important in, like, bridging that gap. All right, so let's just attend to the question here. He said, what code language would you recommend someone n- nearly navigating to learn, please? I don't know if you got that too.
Yeah, yeah. I was just gonna comment on what you said. That I think that's a great point on Rive of like, and that's what I'm a specialist in code. But it's good for you to navigate that as well. And I think like it's good for developers also to do the opposite, right? Kind of understand how animation works. I think every professional should be kind of to kind of figure out how other disciplines work. But regarding the question, I think I would say that any language is good. Of course, like I wouldn't say any language, but I would say that the language is not that important. It's more important to learn like the coding principles, and that's kind of universal to every language. I would say that I think JavaScript is probably the most accessible to learn, and it's going to be the most like beginner friendly because there's a lot of content on the internet about JavaScript front end. It's more like, okay, if you want to translate this to like creating websites, JavaScript is going to be more useful than Python. And I think it's like a lot of people are learning Lua because of Rive as well for scripting. I don't think I would recommend Lua as the first language just because I think it is a little bit more like good content out of the web. Like there's not a lot of people doing tutorials on Lua or anything like that. So would go to it. It is if you are someone that is already familiar with Python, or if you want to learn Python because of another reason or anything, I do think that any language you learn is going to give you kind of the principles of how programming works. And that's what matters. Because practice, you're not going to be coding all the time because you're still an animator. Um, but it's important for you to understand how the code works so you can have like conversations with developers and think station ahead of time.
Yeah. So, like, thank you so much for, like, what you just explained. We basically like uh, we basically like have, like, a couple of minutes to, like, the end of the chat, because it's not meant to go beyond, like, 45 minutes, because it's just like, a casual chat. So yeah. So so yeah, you did mention that you are actually currently like a motion designer at where you are at. So want to believe that's at chess, right? Like, so because I saw your post and all
Yeah.
that. So, like, how are you like, what's the, what are you like, like you're just like a motion designer there. I thought you like you'd be like, like, be helping with like, like the creative technology side of things, not just like, oh, maybe, and all that. That's number one. Number two is like, so uh basically what really like pushed you into creative technology is actually like the job you got, like yeah, like, being, amongst, developers and all that. So I really like to ask, yeah, like, how did you like, was he because in my own experience I know that, you know companies like that, gaming companies like that, I don't know, I think my network is freezing. So I don't know, my light went off.
No, it's
All
not.
right, so you just give me a minute to fix my light. All right.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. All right. One bit. Okay, good. I don't know. I guess we might actually have to end this call without my light.
Oh, but it's looking good. Like it's a nice
All
blue, you know.
right. So, but I just wanted to like I wanted to say like, I wanted you to like, talk more about what you're doing currently at chess. Then also like I wanted to like, like for me in my own experience, I know that you wouldn't get into like a gaming company or like, all these, software development companies without you like at least like having like a little bit of background in code or anything like that. Because I could remember a time when I was actually applying for a job as a motion designer in, gaming industry, which is really like one of the one of the reasons why I wanted to like learn Unity as a motion designer, because I felt like, those places really do not have like so much competition. Like there are not so many motion designers that are looking towards like the all the gaming industries, like the software development industries, except for maybe motion designers that want to build like, product videos, etc. But like, there are very few motion designers that are actually working in those, those areas. And gaming industry is a really large one. Software development is a really huge one. So I don't know. I think I froze again, right? Not sure.
You froze, but you're back.
All right. So I don't know if you got what I said, right? So but
There, should I tell you all my secrets about chats and stuff?
you should do.
So yeah, I was gonna mention that like of all our volunteer industry right now, it is very hard to kind of join a company as a motioner that is not aiming towards like marketing, that it's not like uh, marketing stuff or like videos for advertising. I think that's not that common. Advertising still is like the biggest amount of jobs in the industry for motion designers. But in terms of kind of this positions where you're more like a motion designer that is aiming at a product or at a game or something like that. I think playing a big part on that because now it's more accessible and it's more actually doable. Like you have big companies like Duolingo or something kind of thing that you can do like delightful animations on products, like on apps. It doesn't need to be all boring. So I feel like there are some openings of using animation as a resource for your app, like a polish, like a way to make your app feel unique. kind of give personality even. I think Duolingo is a great example of that. Like Duolingo has its own language and personality and of illustration and animation, you know. So I think that's becoming more easy. It's important to have a background, not a background, but an understanding of what is animation in that specific place, because that's one of the things like animations for videos are very much about like the principles of animation, like we know, like the 12 principles, you know. In it's more nuanced, I would say. Like you don't want a flashing screen all the time. You really want to be very purpose focused. So like, what do I want the user to do? So I will not put like a bunch of animations in the other parts, you know. I would focus on the button.
Wow.
So it's like it has more than just like it 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 needs to look good, but it also needs to serve a purpose. So I think there is that. Like I would say that this kind of understanding about animation in the product is very important, more even than the background. If you can show that in your portfolio, or if you can show that in an interview, I think people will notice.
Mm. Well,
And part, yes, I think that's very related to what I just said. Like, I am my title is a motion designer, but there is a lot of like the creative technologist role in it. In terms of like the last couple weeks, I've been focusing a lot our process to the developers. What is the best methodology to implement the files? How should be like the naming conventions? And I've been doing a lot of prototypes as well, like animating something and doing a live prototype with code that shows how that would look like in the app, you know. So more like leaning towards already showing the developers how things should be implemented instead of just doing the animation. I have like a plan for how that animation is gonna translate to the app, you know. I've been having a lot of fun, to be honest. It's something that I really like doing.
really thanks for sharing that. So we sort of like, I don't know, like I feel like my network is misbehaving a lot at this point. So I don't know. I really like don't want us to actually take this any further than so that you could go do other things that you like to do. Um, so um, for me, like thank you so much for Oh, yeah. So I think we just have this question or the last question. If there's any other person else that actually has a question, can ask that question, and then we'll just need to call it a day. Abib, you can go ahead.
Perfect.
All right. Hi, Isa. Thank you so much for coming on the fireside chat. I mean, it's been so amazing. I mean, like getting like the comments like on I like went on to like check your works, and it's been really mind blowing. So thank you on that aspect. So but yeah, one thing I have is you mentioned on one of your posts how exciting it is to like test out prototype or like test out like what you built by just sending it to users, and they sort of like just get it on, play with it. They don't have to like install anything. The Rive runtime or something just runs in their browser, and they're able to like test it out. Feature because personally I'm just getting into Rive, so there's still like a lot of things that it's still as I mean, it's so surprising when you said we actually even learned Rive in a week. I was like, wow, but Rive in a week? I've been at it for a month. But then that's so amazing, to be honest. So you shed like light on like how you share that to like people to test it out without really installing the Rive. runtime on their PC or from their mobile.
Oh, I don't know like my. Oh wait, can you guys talk something?
Oh yeah, look, can you hear?
Oh wait.
Yeah, we could. We can't hear you. Can you hear us?
You are muted.
She's muted.
Yes, she is.
I think I'm back.
Yes,
Can
we
you
can
hear
hear
me?
you.
Yeah, sure.
I lost the last part of your question. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So I was just saying that if you could actually like share like to be able to like test it out like from their mobile device or like where exactly you use like something you just discovered recently, if I'm not mistaken, or yeah,
About the prototype, right?
right, yeah, sure.
Yeah, basically, like I don't know if I get like me. But for me, it's like I specifically was like about the using Rive as a prototype tool, and I think it's very powerful because it's more than a prototype tool, right? It's like you can use it as a prototype tool, but you can iterate on top of that prototype and come out with something that you can actually implement. And I used a lot the share link thing. I think it's paid now. I think it's a feature that is like it's a premium now. Which I'm an ambassador at Rive, okay, but I'm gonna say I think that's like I really wanted that to be free because I think it's a very important tool for people who are learning to actually be able to interact with their own Rive animation. Was that fine to your question, or did I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
answer
it's
something
clarifying
completely?
since that's like where it is being hidden at, like in the pro version of right, is like where hidden gem is. So yeah.
Yeah, and so I would like to ask if any other person has any other question, right? So for me, it has been like an amazing time. So I don't know.
Yeah, same for me. Like, I'm very glad you guys are
Some
here.
yeah.
Samuel, go ahead.
All right, good evening. Um, to know
That's a good question. It's funny because when I started, it was very early. So Rive, I was able to kind of learn while Rive was growing, which made things a little bit easier. Today, there's a lot of things to learn, right? Uh, it's a pretty big tool. I would personally go with, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I wouldn't pay for a course in terms of like if you're starting to learn. I think it's worth paying for like classes or something like that when you're already like try to use like the own Rive resources. I would go about it basically watching the YouTube channel of Rive. Um, if you think like if you start to watch a video and you're like, I'm not understanding this, go to the next one. You know, like sometimes it's best to just like kind of not insist on that specifically because there's a lot to learn and you need to start with the basics, right? You need to start like with the foundations. And the other resource I think it's very underestimated is the actual documentations on their website. I think that's a good guide on what to learn first. You know, start from there, and then if you want to learn something else, watch videos on their YouTube that relates to that subject, and kind of go from there. I would say that the most important thing is to learn the logic of like the state machine, the logic behind. Like if you're already animating, you already know about keyframes, you already know about spacing, easing, you already probably know how to navigate like the art, stuff like that. So I would focus more on the interactive part. And another thing is leaders or events or triggers. And Rive usually uses the names of things that are the actual names. Like they're not creating a new name. They are using a name that is borrowed from another industry, you know. So even data binding, like um, enums, like all of these terms are terms that are already used in other software. So you can probably search for that, like in Google, and try to understand more about it. But yeah, that's what I
Wow.
would do. And do personal projects. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
thank you so much for that. Like particularly for the last statement, about like, Rive, not like, like they already like they are using, existing terms and terminologies. All right, so for me, it has been like a great time. Thank you so so much for like, choosing to actually come, like to, you know, our small group, like, try to like, um, you know, teach us all you actually know. It's nice, to hear from you. And for me, like personally, like I'm super following like everything you're doing, like on your LinkedIn. I don't know if my network is not frozen again. Like I'll always be there, like almost on every post, like
Oh,
yeah, like to cheer you on. Or, yeah, like
oh, thank you.
thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, I'm very glad
Yeah.
for being here. Yeah, I'm very glad. Like, you guys are awesome people to talk with. Like, it was very little questions and very important ones. I think this was very good for me as well to kind of think more about these things. I was also gonna mention, like, guys, connect with me on LinkedIn. Please DM me if you need any help. And I haven't accepted, do it again because like there's a lot of invites. Sometimes I just miss, Um, but feel free. Like I'm always here. Like this group is amazing. It was really very meaningful questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We're going to answer any call, yeah. Was nice actually having you. Yeah.
Same.
Uh,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.